think I actually want to speak to you about your love for comic books and Star Wars. And I absolutely love it because I'm a massive Star Wars fan. And you link a lot of that to like philosophy and spirituality. So do you see a lot of the inspiration of the Eastern world within all these Marvel stories and the Star Wars, like the Jedi, for example?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I definitely am able to make those parallels, which I love because, as you've just noted, I have a real passion for my faith. And so to see it, even maybe it wasn't intentional, but to see those parallels, those kind of comparisons in some of my favorite media is always exciting, especially because right now, representation of the Sikh community is very limited. So any sort of semblance of connection to my faith in media is a really cool thing to see, and it allows me to explain it to people in a way that they can kind of better process. Because when I talk about the idea of God, for example, right, it's not the way people most commonly know about God is this like guy in the sky kind of concept, right? It's this all-encompassing energy, this oneness of the universe, which is very similar to the Force. So for people who may not be able to just hear the words of a oneness of the universe, if I say, oh, think of like the Force, and it has this all-encompassing energy within the Star Wars universe, it makes a bit more sense. So it's really a cool thing I can use to help people better understand a lot of these concepts, because religion is very intricate sometimes.
I think a couple of things you said there is fascinating. Firstly, the whole representation aspect of it, because even for myself, as in being in the brown community in general, you don't get to see yourself much on TV. I know it's changing and quite dramatically, which is always a great thing to see. But we used to do that thing when you see a brown person, you call everyone up, mom, 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 like brown person on TV, you get so excited. And I think every household does that. But our ideas have always been used. Like if you look at the Matrix films, like that's completely out of Eastern philosophy. I know it's from a different philosopher, but even then, that whole idea of the world being an illusion, that's quite synonymous in all Eastern philosophy. And again, with the whole Jedi, and you're right, like the whole idea of God, even though we use that word, it means something completely different to us than it does in the Western world. And using the idea of the Force is fascinating because I'm a massive Star Wars fan, and the Jedi have always called to me because of those principles. Like the idea of love and fear, and the idea of detachment, and this whole concept of being alone but being free, essentially. And that's what the Jedi kind of represented. And you have like the masters and you have disciples, and it looks like this is just Jainism, like or Sikhism or Hinduism, isn't just literally that template on a screen, but we don't speak of it in that respect, essentially, right?
Yeah. That I think that point that you brought up about detachment is so interesting, because I'm pretty sure it rings true in most Eastern philosophies. And so it's so strange because like that probably maybe it exists in Western philosophies, but it's just not as commonly talked about. But it's so prevalent in our Eastern philosophies, and it's something huge in Sikh specifically. And it's interesting to see that exploration through the Jedi and see how the lack of detachment impacts it in such a negative way. Like I made this video about how Anakin's downfall is because of the lack of detachment, but not only by him, but by Obi-Wan and the Jedi Order as a whole, and their inability to adhere to those principles. And so it's really cool to see, like you said, these ideas embedded in Star Wars and other popular media.
Yeah, that's so true. I don't even see it as Obi-Wan's. I always saw it as Anakin's, like lack of detachment, because it's quite clear and it's quite like obviously falling in love with a woman and having like 2 kids with her and stuff. So yeah, that's clear. But it's true, Obi-Wan was so attached to him, his own student, that he didn't see the or he overlooked it, or he didn't see it close enough. And again, fascinating. And I think stories like that do resonate in the universal concept. So why can't our stories be shown more?